Welcome, welcome everyone. I appreciate you guys being here. Where this is a space where we're trying to empower you all to be relationship experts yourself. I am trying to give as much information as I can to build your skills. And yeah, let's get started. So, if you think this is valuable and you want more people in this space, like and retweet. A bit about myself. So, I have a master's in clinical behavioral psychology and I specialize in relationships. And from there, I went and did a year of practicing being a psychologist, and I realized it was very disease oriented and diagnosis oriented, and I didn't like that. And I think it's all about skills, and we don't get taught a lot of these relationship skills at school. And if we don't have parents with great relationships, where are we going to learn it from? So this is a space we can learn things from. And hopefully I am a valuable resource to you guys. So let's recap what we've learned the last 8 Twitter spaces. So we learned love languages, how people value different things. Love languages is the main 5, but it's more complicated than that. But it's just love languages. It's good to remember that 2 people, no matter how similar they are, will have differences, and you can't assume the other person thinks like you and appreciates things you do. It's likely they'll appreciate love a different way at different situations. So, love languages, keep that in mind. Another one is bottling is bad. So, whenever you notice frustration building up, that's bottling. And we want to get it out as quickly as possible. We don't want our bottle to fill up. And the way to get it out is just by being honest. Now, once we realize that we're bottling and we want to get it out and be honest, having a soft startup is a really great way to be able to express your feelings without your partner getting as defensive as you just attacking them. So having soft startups are really important. Another one is being direct with what we want. So we are very conditioned growing up to be very nice and, take the roundabout way of asking for what we want instead of, or even criticizing indirectly when we want something, and we never really ask for what we want directly. So practicing being direct when we are wanting something. And that,
So, from one example of this that I remember from my childhood is the directness thing.
Mhm.
Is My dad wanted us to mow the lawn, but he would never like ask us. He'd be like, "Do you want to mow the lawn?" And we'd be like, "Yeah, don't really want to do that." And he was like, "Oh, but like, if you don't do it, then who will do it?" And it was just this constant like thing where at the end of it, you're like, "Yeah, he wants you to mow the lawn, and he doesn't want you to take no for an answer." Um, so yeah, I don't know. Just going through that's kind of exhausting, even for non-romantic relationships. Uh, anyway.
Thanks so much for sharing. Absolutely. We see it all around us, and it's very common for people to just interact with each other this way. And so we're really breaking this norm of just asking directly for what we want. And we'll definitely have examples of this throughout today's space where we can practice it for real. Yes, so I appreciate the input. It means a lot. Another one is nurturing vulnerability. So if someone is finally opening up about things that are important to them, just making sure we nurture that, because if we let them have a bad experience when they're opening up, they're less likely to open up again, and they're going to be an even more clammed shell, and that's not what we want. We want them to be able to get out their frustrations, get out their feelings, so then we can deal with them much more quickly. So nurturing vulnerability. Another one is practicing validation. So when someone is saying something maybe with a harsh startup that you're kind of like, oh, you want to get defensive, you want to fight back, you want to attack them back naturally, instead of that, just saying I hear you and validating that they're frustrated about something. It may not be your fault, it may be your fault, but just hearing that they are having they're upset, right? Hearing that they're upset, like even if you don't agree with them, you can hear them. So that's why I really like that phrase. So practicing validation. So while we're starting to get more people in this space, we can practice these skills before we go to our topic today, with an example from Reddit. So we've got a 28-year-old female and a 32-year-old male. And the title of the question is, "My partner can't argue like an adult. She keeps interrupting me, and when I try to speak and get my when I try and speak and get my point across." So someone who's interrupting. And so that's a general question that I feel like a lot of couples I've noticed experience. But with this specific Reddit question, there is a backstory, and it's quite of a niche backstory. So I'll read it just so you have context for why they wrote it. So it says, "My fiance thought I put a knee in her back during a car ride while her chair was far back, and had her headrest pull her hair out of, and she thought I pulled the headrest, which pulled out her hair out of spite. When I tried to explain, she began to interrupt me by saying repeatedly, 'That's not true, that's 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 not true.' Until I got so fed up, I told her to go F herself and come back when she's ready to listen. The last time we spoke was 3 days ago, and we live under the same roof. What should I do to get through this?" Okay, so now we have some context for what happened when the interrupting happened and what caused it. I want to ask you guys, does anyone know here what the biggest red flag in this backstory was? So imagine your friend comes to you and tells you a story like this and asks you, "What do I do?" What is the biggest red flag you notice in this story? Does anyone want to take a shot at answering what the biggest thing was here? And if you guys want to put your hand up, it's you click the love heart emoji at the bottom, and then the raise hand one is on the right. If you guys want to take a go. Okay, we got some shy people. That's okay. That's okay. So,
I
I'll go for it.
I guess for me, the biggest red flag is that they live in the same place and they haven't talked for 3 days. I'm just imagining living with someone, and anytime you're in like a room around them, you're just like, there's just all this tension. That seems bad. I don't know. People interrupt each other. People like accidentally bump each other's headrests or do it on purpose. But like not talking for 3 days is that's a long time.
Yes, yes, it's a very long time, and I'm really glad you picked that up. I don't know if Mazda, you're trying to put up your hand. I saw you waving. I don't know if you thought that was a hand, but I invited you to speak in case you ever want to chime in with anything, or you can just request to speak as well on your own. Yes, absolutely. So that was the biggest red flag there, that they haven't talked in 3 days. And one of the things that we discussed last week that we really learned about was the biggest indicator for relationships working is the amount of positive interactions they have with each other. So the magic ratio, science has found, is for every negative interaction, you have 5 positive interactions. That's the relationships that are healthy and happy and that last and don't get divorces. So having issues, both good and bad couples both have negative interactions. You can't avoid them. We will all have them. So that's not a problem. But the amount of positive interaction is important. So the reason I bring that up is because in this story, they just spent 3 days not interacting. So 3 days of building up negative interactions is a really long time. Imagine 5 times the amount of positive interactions you need to do to counter 3 days of negative interaction. It's a lot. It's really hard to come back from something that's lasted 3 days. You obviously can, but it takes a while for the balance, the balance to turn positive again. So that's why
And I think
yeah.
and I think even if you do, it's just kind of always going to be a question mark, right? Like, oh man, like, when is the next time going to be that we don't talk for 3 days? What if I do something else and we don't talk for 3 days, you know?
Yes. Yes, exactly. That, this is something that's happened before. Like, what's stopping it from happening again? So that's why we want to resolve things as quickly as possible. So I'm going to give you three options for, if someone comes to you with this problem and they want your input and they say, I have three options, what do you think I should do? So I'm going to read each one and just put thumbs up if you think that's the answer that you think is a good answer. So the question again was, my partner can't argue like an adult. She keeps interrupting me when I try to speak and get my point across. So the first advice you could give someone going through something like that is, okay, wait for them to come to you, because in the backstory it explained, when you're ready to listen, come talk to me. Come to me when you're ready to listen. That was the exact words used. So, yep, you said something, stand your ground. What do we think? Thumbs up for that one. Is that good advice to give? Good. Thumbs down. Yes, that's what I want to see. That's not the right answer. Okay, next one. Apologize for swearing at her and let her know how hurt you are. What do we think about that one? Thumbs up? Oh, bit unsure, bit unsure. Okay, no thumbs down. All right. Ooh, we got a solid, we got some solid ones here. Okay. All right. So potentially that's a good one. And the third option is apologize for swearing and ask for uninterrupted listening. What do we think about that one? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up. Ooh, thumbs up. Yes. Yes. This is what I want to see. So, yes, apologizing for swearing because he did swear at her. That's not nice. That was definitely a negative interaction. And asking for what you want. So, what he wanted in this situation was uninterrupted listening time. So, asking for that specific thing is the direct thing that he's asking for, that he needs to address. It's very easy to get caught up in, that it wasn't my fault. Like, I wasn't trying to hurt you. Yes, you were. Like, if you get into that loop, like, you're not going to make much progress. So you really need to be able to figure out what is it that you directly want. If you've done something wrong, apologize specifically for it, and then be direct with what you want. And don't let things fester out for really long periods of time, like 3 days. So I want to see if, Armand, are you open to doing a role play with me on how to practice some of the skills we've learned to be able to just play out how this goes in this scenario?
Are we role playing the situation in the car, or this is after we haven't talked for 3 days and
Let's make it more specific. Let's make it more specific so it's generalized to more people. So how about, I've just let's say it didn't take 3 days for me, or you to address the situation. So let's say I've interrupted you. I've just interrupted you. You were talking about something important to you, and you want me to listen um, for an uninterrupted period of time. So I would like to recreate that. So just so people can see what that would look like asking for something directly. What is that? How does that sound?
have I sworn at you
No,
yet?
no. Let's not do that scenario.
Because that definitely makes it easier. Because if you've sworn at someone already, the soft startup is
Yeah.
apologizing because hey, I'm sorry I've sworn, and then the other person feels good because they're like, all right, we're already making some ground. I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
but all right, okay. So you've interrupted me while I was saying something that was really
Yeah. Can you
important.
start saying something and I'll interrupt you?
And let me think about something important to
Okay.
say. Um, uh, be like, oh, babes, my day at work was so terrible. I was at school and like, man, nothing was working. I was,
Oh, like
just trying to build
was
this
it like your
software.
professor like that wasn't helping, or like what's it called? Oh my gosh. Oh, actually my professor started emailing me today, and it was like crazy. It was so out of the blue. Um yeah, like do you know what, like it was about like my a PhD program, and yeah, I was like, "What?"
Hey, babes. Hey, babes. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I really had a, pretty bad day, and um, I just need someone to vent to and for someone to listen. Can you just, you know, let me vent for a little bit uninterrupted?
Oh, sorry. I didn't even mean to do that. I didn't even realize I did that. Yeah, yeah. I'll get to my stuff later. It was kind of crazy. Yeah.
So, so yeah, I guess that's the situation, right? Even though I got interrupted and I was a little bit frustrated, um, tried not to be like mean about it. Uh, my startup was apologizing for interrupting you. Um, I don't know if I could do that in real time. Like if I was actually piqued or angry, that seems like a pro
Yeah.
skill. But after that, right, I could have kept it in and whatever. You just like go talk 5 minutes about your professor and your life, and this is just like building up in me
Hmm.
until I'm like, ah.
Yep. Yep.
So I didn't bottle it up, and then I kind of asked directly what I wanted. Hey, I just need a little bit of time to vent. So I just trying to utilize some of the skills you're teaching us.
Amazing. I appreciate you. And for people that don't know, he's actually Armand is actually my husband. So when he called me babes, like that's something we call each other for real. Um,
And I get interrupted
I
very
do. I'm an
frequently.
interrupter, so this is something I really have to like learn. And when he calls me out, I really have to take it seriously. Another thing you guys can do if you're the one that doesn't like being interrupted is to give a time. Like if the other person really doesn't get it and they keep interrupting you, like you can just be like, I need whatever time frame it is, 10 minutes,
Set a
set a
timer.
timer, like seriously. And if for example I'm interrupting you, call me out. That's not okay. I need to be able to respect this thing that you need right now. um,
And we do that. We
we
set
do.
timers.
Sometimes I need a
We set a
timer.
timer
Yeah,
yesterday.
we do that. Okay, yeah, so that was,
It also helps for
yeah.
like uh I don't like the very classic situation is, the wife goes home, she like talks a lot like at length about her day. And like in White Chicks or something, like the guy just like falls asleep. And something that works for that as well is setting a timer. I'm just throwing it out there. Timers are timers are very useful in relationships
Yeah.
sometimes. I don't know. I'm no relationship expert, but
Probably not every time, like Demo might feel like, belittling, but like it's definitely a great tool to use to be able to put good habits at play. So 100% recommend the timers. Okay, now that we got a bit warmed up with the skills that we've practiced so far, let's jump into today's topic. So today's topic is attuning. And it's a bit of a advanced word because we don't immediately know what it means. So we need to unpack what attuning means. So it's choosing to turn towards your partner's bids instead of turning away. And a bid is a bid for connection. And they're all around us in everyday life. And it's very, very easy to miss a bid for connection because they're the crucial mini moments of everyday life that we experience often. So, if we can get this right, if we can actually get a tuning happening in relationships, it's huge because it's more impactful than a 2 week getaway to Hawaii. Like your foundations are going to be really strong if we can get this down. So if we can attune And so if we're tuning, that builds your emotional bank account. So that's another thing I'm going to talk about. So emotional bank accounts are like savings for when things get tough, and there's stress and conflict in your relationship. And there will always be, no relationship can avoid, stress, conflict, tough times. That's something everyone experiences because we're human. So stacking our emotional bank account is really going to help in those moments. So what is a tuning, or what is a bid for connection? So a lot of the situations can be as simple as, do you guys, everyday situations like reading together. Do you guys listen to the radio together or alone? Do you speak or be silent during lunch or dinner? What they found is, in healthy relationships, that in marriages that last, partners turn towards their partner and um, attune with the bids 86% of the time. So that means majority of the bids they're noticing, and they're actually turning towards their partner instead of away, which is the default that we usually do. So divorced couples actually only attune 33% of the time. So you can see that big difference between healthy relationships and relationships that end. So this is something definitely to look out for, be aware of, and practice. It's with these things, it's a lifelong thing of practicing that we just keep getting better and better at. So for example,
What's an example? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yes, definitely. Examples so important. So unhealthy marriages, when we're talking about attuning, it could be something as simple as, the wife doesn't look up for her phone, and, her husband doesn't acknowledge the wife's response. So those are two examples. We'll definitely go into deep dive into examples. And, it can be something as minor as asking for a back rub, or as significant as seeking support for an aging parent when they're sick. And bids are for each other's attention, affection, humor, support. All of these things we could be bidding for in our partner. So you have the choice to either turn towards your partner or turn away. And your emotional bank account could grow if you can simply notice, for example, if your partner is having a bad day at work, and just taking a few seconds to schedule to send him an encouraging text. Um, and if we can practice attuning, the benefits quickly snowball. So this is something that can create change quite quickly in relationships when they're not going well. So let's go into examples, because that's how we learn when we practice these things. So I'm going to ask you guys with a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you guys think this is a bid for connection. So the husband looks out the window and says, "Wow, look at that boat." Is that a bid for connection? Or is that just a normal everyday experience? What do we think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for a bid for connection? Yes. Yes. Great. Great. So it is something as simple as that husband looking out a window and saying, "Wow, look at that boat." That's a bid for connection. So the answer is yes. And so if the wife looks up from her phone and says, "Yeah, it looks like the one we saw last summer," and the husband grunts, thumbs up or thumbs down if we think that's a tuning. Is that a successful situation of a tuning? Oh, we got a thumbs down. What up? We got a thumbs up. We're a split room. Anyone else want to weigh in? Okay. All right. We're 50.
And I'm cheating. I know the answer to this one.
How do you know the answers? Um,
This is out of the Gottman book, right?
yeah, of course. Gottman is
Mm.
the king, in my opinion, of research in psychology for relationships. He's got over 40 years of amazing research in these things. So a lot of the things that we're learning are from very core evidence-based studies, that skills that we can draw upon. So yes, thumbs up. I'm sorry, Mazda. It is a thumbs up. So something as simple as that is actually um, a tuning. Mazda, do you want to be brave enough and say why you thought it was a thumbs down?
Yeah, yeah. Can you
Yep,
hear
yep.
me? Is it all good? Okay, perfect. Dude, I thought it was dude the grunt. What is a grunt? That's not like a proper response. It's not even English like words. So I thought he could have maybe expressed it better. It wasn't acknowledging that moment that she was talking about the past. Maybe that previous boat. It doesn't relate to it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's very vague.
Mm-hmm.
So I was maybe going off that.
Yep, yep. No, that's fair. That's fair. I appreciate you sharing the reason. Um, yes. So as soon like this is good enough for a tuning. Like if I was a psychologist that was looking at a couple doing just behaving, I would be like, oh yeah, that was a solid interaction. Obviously, you can do better. If you do more than grunting back, in response, obviously, you're doing much better as a couple. But grunting is still a sign of responding, like, yes, I heard you. And or like, yeah, I agree with you. It's like a positive acknowledgement, even though it's just a sound. So that would still count.
It depends on the grunt, right?
It does. It does.
It could be like, be like the classic farmer grunt, like, or it could be like, yeah, yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
The
Tone does matter. Tone does matter. Um, in most situations, I'd say this is probably a positive interaction and it would be a tuning. But yes, you got to be careful if there's some negative tones going on, definitely, for sure. Does anyone have any questions at any point about any of this stuff, or they have something that's come up in the last week, or something they're confused about, or have a question, or want to share a story about anything relationship wise? This is a space that at any time you can put your hand up, and we're all ears and we're just all here to help. So I'll just give a moment in case anyone wants to say anything or ask any sort of question.
I'm happy to speak on my experience. I think I've gotten a bit more into trying to think about relationships a little
Mhm.
bit. And dude, I was sitting on a train and I saw this person reading a book called Attachments or something like that. And I was like, dude, what is that book about? And I just searched it up using ChatGPT to like summarize it real quickly. And I thought it was quite interesting. So I think it was basically about how do you like communicate within a relationship, or like I think it was like some people are like anxious, some people are like easygoing, and some people are closed off. I was thinking maybe I'm a bit anxious and closed off sometimes, or I haven't practiced being open as much. So I thought it was an interesting book, and then it got me thinking about it. And I remembered Gottman because you recommended it, and then I think I ordered like a couple of books on like relationships and stuff. And yeah, dude, I think I ordered the Gottman book. I'm reading it now. I'm up to like page 25 about the seven principles, like a good marriage or whatever, dude. And then I ordered it, and then I realized you also had it. So I'm reading your current version that you left. But yeah, I went through that, and yeah, it did mention attunement. There was also, I think there was, yeah, repair attempts. I remember you mentioning that in the past, and yeah, it makes sense where it's coming from. So I don't know. I'm just trying to read more and take it a bit more, read more scientific stuff about relationships. So
Wow, I am so impressed. I did not see that coming. Yes, thank you so much for sharing all these amazing points. Absolutely, absolutely. The attachment book, I've read it as well. It's got interesting stuff. And yeah, the Gottman book is definitely where it's at. The attachment one, yes. So there's healthy attachment, there's anxious attachment, and there's avoidant attachment. And well, there's anxious and avoidant is also one. I think it's a great book for helping people understand more about relationships, for sure. The only hesitation I have with the attachment research and attachment book is it weighs really heavily on like your parents and your upbringing and things like that, and kind of makes you a little bit feel like you're stuck in this category that you can't move out of, and your parents kind of really screwed you and things like that. So I would just be, we want to have a growth mindset, and we don't necessarily know what things contributed to the way you are, because there's just so many things that have contributed to us being the way we are. So yeah, that one just simplifies it too much, and yeah, just can maybe hold us up back a little bit if we're trying to grow, because we can just blame our history, be like, oh, we're just like this because this is how I grew up. But, that's not a helpful mindset to be able to change what we're doing. And it seems like a lot of a bigger task if we feel like we've always been like this. Whereas, if we're pretty neutral and we think, okay, we just are creating a new habit, we're much more ready to change. So just keep that in mind. But it's definitely helpful for us to understand people and behaviors. And yeah, I know it definitely opened my mind a lot about learning about people. So love that you shared that. I appreciate that. All right. Anyone else want to say anything at all? All right, beautiful. We'll jump to the next example. So let's see if this is a bid for connection. So you're at the grocery store with your partner, and your partner says, "Are we out of butter?" Or like for Americans, butter. What do we think? Thumbs up, thumbs down for bid for connection. Oh, we got a thumbs down, we got a thumbs down. What do we think? Anyone else want to weigh in? Okay. We got a fist. Is that a yes? I don't know what the fist means.
It's a thumb halfway up.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay, so we got a thumb halfway up and a thumbs down. So I'm glad I put these questions in. So it is actually a bid for connection. So it's as small as these things. So you're at the grocery store and your partner can say, "Are we out of butter?" And that's a bid for connection. So if anyone wants to take a go, what would turning away from your partner, if you were just being on default mode, or if you're just not having it and you want to turn away from your partner in this instant, what would you do? What would you do to turn away from this bid? Does anyone want to take a go at guessing?
Dude, I was just laughing to myself. Dude, I remember that scene from Spider-Man, and then you say, "You'll get the butter when you pay the goddamn rent." But yeah, not acknowledging the butter, or like not maybe just ignore them, or you, yeah, I don't know, you just don't respond, you ignore them, you go on your phone, that's closing,
Yep.
pushing away.
Amazing. So, yep, just shrugging apathetically, or yeah, not acknowledging what they say. Absolutely. That's a turning away from your partner. So, turning towards your partner. Does anyone want to take a
Great
go?
question.
Yes, Armand?
Is what about responses? Like, what verbal responses are you turning away from your partner? Yeah, I get not saying anything or ignoring them is bad, but like, for example, is saying, uh, I don't know, just buy it anyway. Am I turning towards my partner? I acknowledge what they're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know, like what is that?
So that has a bit of both. That's a bit of a tough one. So you are responding by saying, "I don't know." So that's turning towards your partner. And then the second part of your sentence was, "You can get it if you want." Is that what you said?
I said, I don't know, let's just get
Let's
it.
just get it. Okay, that seems pretty towards turning to your partner. But it's a bit,
What if I
yeah.
say, I don't know, just buy it
Okay, that
anyway?
one's not as good. Not as good. So there's levels to how much you attune to your partner. So an example of, attuning could be, "I don't know, let me get some just in case." So now you've taken ownership of this thing that your partner's initiated, and showing them that you're really towards, turning towards them, and you are going to go now get this butter, that she said, "Are we out of butter?" Like that is, like, does that make sense?
I think I get it a little bit. Um, and like, I guess another question I have is why is this attunement? I get if you like ignore the person or something like that. Yeah, you like put in a negative interaction, but like, I don't know. Like, Another thing is maybe you could read between the lines and be like, okay, when someone is asking me if, we're out of butter, it's not really about the butter. It's them wanting to talk to me and check in with me. And if, you ignore them or have a bad response, then, you foiled their attempt to talk or check in with you. But like, I don't know, like, just like,
Yeah.
where do you like is anything your partner says to you that's not an attack, is that a whatever bid for attunement or?
So a lot of it is. A lot of it is. And that's why, for example, and this is a great point you bring up because, for example, grunting in response, you know, Mazda picked up as like, oh, that's not an acceptable, like, what is that? But that is as good as it needs to be for it to be possible. So we'll have so many little everyday interactions, and they don't have to be extravagant. They don't have to be like this one where it says, I don't know, but I'm going to just go get some butter because you're not sure if you have butter. But it's in as many ways as we can. So if we look back to the statistics, so happily married people that are together for a long time, 86% of the time, it's classed as a positive interaction between them where it's being a more positive than negative. So it needs to be like a bit above neutral for it to be positive, to be towards and not away. So as many of those we can, the better. Divorced couples, they only respond to 33%, so it's much lower. So it's not human to be able to respond to 100% of these, and I definitely don't want to set unrealistic expectations because no human can. But just increasing the ratio as much as we can will really help um, have good habits in place. And if we can get this stuff right, like it contributes to you guys having more trust with each other, you guys having a better sex life, like that, being able to be there for each other through tough times. All of these contribute in a big way. Hand up, I see you. Armand, go for it.
So I mean that answers part of my question, but like it's still like how do I identify one of these things in the wild? Is like anytime my partner says anything, that's like, I don't know, a time I need to attune? Or like, isn't that just, yeah, I get that couples aren't going to be able to do it every time, but it sounds kind of exhausting. I don't know about other people, but
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. And the more you guys have positive things, the easier it would get. But it is quite a lot, and not everything is. For example, with one of the skills we learned about being direct, this person saying, about the grocery store, are we out of butter? She's not asking directly, I want you to get me butter. If she was, that would be a direct ask for it. And then you can more easily decide if you want to, help her get the butter, or if you're going to be like, oh, no, I'm going to go pick up the meat, which is like on the other side. Can you get the butter? So it's much easier to coordinate when people are being direct, because then you can tell when something is a proper bid for connection when someone's directly asking you, whereas it's not just every single thing you say could be a bid. That's why practicing this is really helpful, to be direct, because it helps us know when we need to step up and attune. So absolutely, it can get very hard if, we're being indirect and every single thing we say is, a bid for attuning. That can get overwhelming, exactly like you said. So the way we can avoid doing that is by being very specific and direct when we're asking for something, because that makes it easier for our partner, and it gives our partner the opportunity to say no if they've got a lot going on. And also by being direct, you can avoid, as the person, being indirect, you can be construed as someone who's being demanding a lot. And you might not even know you're being demanding because you're being so indirect when you ask for something. And, for example, in this exact situation, are we out of butter? if she's expecting you to go get the butter every time you're at the store, you can be like, wow, that's so demanding. I don't want to get the butter every time I'm at the store that she says, are we out of butter? But she, on her end, might be like, I'm not asking you to get the butter. I'm just saying we're out of butter. Like, if we're out of butter, I could go get it for myself. So, this is where some misunderstandings can come into place, and people can feel like, oh my gosh, my partner is so demanding. And they can be like, no, I'm not. I'm not demanding because I never ask you to do anything. So, to avoid this whole battle, it's really great to just directly ask for what you want. Then your partner can directly know it's a bid for a tuning and decide how to approach it. Does that kind of make more sense?
Yeah, I guess I get it a little bit better. It still feels like some reading between the lines is necessary, but yeah, I mean, I guess with the more direct times versus the less direct times, you can maybe gauge importance that way or something.
Yeah, exactly. And, if you're the partner and you notice that they're being indirect, you could call them out and be like, do you want me to get the butter? Is that what you're asking for? And then maybe the other person can clarify, is that really what they're asking for, or are they asking for something else? So just clearing up communication as to be as direct as possible helps in so many different ways. So let's now bump up the examples in terms of difficulty and talk about missing bids because of defensiveness. So you could ask for something and someone could just easily dismiss it because they feel attacked. Mazda, go for it.
I've got a question. So I think, what do you think is better? Because I think there's a lot of bids. Like I think what Armand's perspective might be that, dude, there's like you talk like if you talk to a person constantly, there might be like thousands of opportunities or bids taking place, or like to interact or engage further. Um, it might be. I was thinking maybe about the quality of bids. Is it better to have like three shallow bids where it's like, oh, I remember I did sports in high school, and it's like doesn't even like that. What if the partner's not into like sports or something? It's not like a direct bid. Or is it better to like go out of your way and just have like one super good bid where it's like, dude, let's go to and play tennis, where it's like more, there's a better opportunity for better things to happen than like, do you like cooking? I remember you like cooking, and it's like they don't even like cooking or something. I don't know. So maybe it's like, would you maybe try and do like three shallow bids, or maybe like one super good bid or something? I don't
Yeah.
know. Just a random
Yeah,
question.
great question. And bouncing off that to clarify further, I love it. So you can kind of use these bids and put them into daily habits. So that's probably one of the best ways to use the bids and to make sure that it's something you both value. So this is the thing we learned about in earlier Twitter Spaces, which was love languages. So you want to make sure that you're responding to something that is appreciated. If getting the butter is, for example, one of the love languages is acts of service. Acts of service means doing helpful things for your partner. They highly value that. For example, my husband Armand, he really values acts of service. It's his number one out of the 5 love languages. This is a very easy example because it directly relates. For me, my acts of service is the lowest appreciated out of the 5 love languages. So, for example, if he goes and gets me the butter, right? I wouldn't really value that as much as if he was like, um, I don't know, maybe something like,
Let's hold hands and together go get the butter.
yes,
You'd be like, oh my
yes,
God, you want to hold my hand?
literally. That was a great example. So yeah, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Yeah, it's an amazing experience. So that's how we interplay the skills that we're learning in different weeks. So like if we can realize what we value the most, where it's the most bang for buck, you really want to operate efficiently with your partner as much as possible. So you got to figure out what means a lot to them, because that's where you're going to get the most points. And the more emotional points you can bank in your bank account, the easier tough times are going to be. So that was a great example. And then Mazda, back to your question. For example, having dinner together, talking while having dinner together. Maybe that's something both people appreciate, but maybe it's something only one person appreciates. And it's like, you have to figure out where is your most bang for buck with your attuning. And, the ones that you can keep consistently are great. For example, if you guys didn't have any structure for having date nights, and they were like, I really want to have a consistent date night, maybe every Friday night. That's what Armand and I do. That's something that you can work into your daily routines, like weekly routines, and have that be positive interactions that maintain really great positive interactions for you guys. But, for example, if you don't attune with your partner for the 6 days of the week, and then you get to Friday and you're like, all right, I'm ready to attune and like have the best date night, like your partner's going to be mad. Like, so you can't just drop the ball completely and put all your eggs in one basket that's really good. You still need to sprinkle them throughout. But you want to sprinkle them on things that matter the most, that your partner appreciates. And it's a very common thing for us to give our partner what we appreciate. And it really takes a lot of awareness to realize, hey, I would appreciate this, but would they actually appreciate this? And sometimes it's like they actually don't appreciate it. So we have to be really aware of what's going on, to be able to attune to the things that matter the most, and then work it into our daily patterns. Like maybe it's just having a quick breakfast together, or just saying, how was your day, and then just listening for 5 minutes. Maybe that's something that's really important.
I've also got a good one. So, Kimia really loves watching movies and TV shows and stuff. And like you said, acts of service aren't that big of a deal for her. Um, so, like, for example, um, you know, tonight, instead of cooking dinner, I could be like, babes, we're going to eat ramen. But while we're watching the ramen, while we're, eating the ramen, we're going to watch a movie together, you know? And I could just really not feel like eating dinner, but she'd be like, oh my God, we're watching a movie together. Like that would just be better for her than me cooking dinner. Um, so
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like less effort on my part and she appreciates it more. And we get to watch like a movie together. And it's like she'd be like, "Oh my god, that's so much better of a Thursday night than like I don't know, like me like cooking some like crazy meal or something like that."
Yeah, absolutely. Great example. And now think, if I do the reverse, imagine if I was like, because I really appreciate movies and TV shows. Imagine if I was like, oh, I didn't really feel like cooking today, but we can watch a movie instead while eating ramen. Like, Armand's probably not going to be very happy with that. He would probably,
My stomach would eat
yeah,
itself.
yeah.
I'd be like, "Why?
Absolutely.
Goodbye, cruel world."
Yeah, yeah. And see, that's like two people that love each other that just can get it wrong by easily assuming the other person is the same as them. And I love how Armand pointed this out, because that would be a win-win situation, and I love win-win situations. So if you can put less effort in and have it be more bang for buck, that's exactly what we're looking for, because the more easy it is for you to do things the other person appreciates, the more you can do them, and the more you do them, the more likely I'm going to do good things for you. And it's just a positive loop that we're creating. So, yes, it doesn't have to be hard. You can definitely find ways that are easy for you, that do a lot for your partner. So, great example. Great example. All right, let's get into let's do one hard example and then call it a day at 9 o'clock, around 9 o'clock. Okay, so let's say, you know, the wife in this situation says to her husband, it would never occur to you to clear the table, would it? So if we were to class this would be an indirect attack. So I'm attacking my husband indirectly because I'm not telling him what I want from him. I'm just saying it indirectly. I'm saying it would never occur to you to clear the table, would it? So does anyone want to take a shot at translating this message to a direct request? What would that look like if we're practicing the skill of being direct? How would you convert it would never occur to you to clear the table, would it? Does anyone want to take a chance at translating?
While people are thinking whether they want to translate, I think something about this request is, or this thing is, she's like kind of attacking his character, right?
Yep.
She's not saying you never, it's not like you never, whatever, clean the table. It's like, you're so stupid, you would never even, you're so stupid, you would never even think about clearing the
Yep.
table. Like,
It's a bad one.
it's
It's a low
just,
blow.
it's a bad one. Yeah.
It's a very low blow. But people say stuff like this. This is a real life example. Yep. So if you does anyone want to take a chance at translating what that mean low blow would be if it was a direct request? That doesn't sound that bad. Mazda, go for it, brave.
Dude, I got this. Yo, bro, clean the table.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's it. Let's go.
Let's go. That's the correct answer. I don't know if to call your wife, yeah, bro, might make her laugh. I don't know. But like, yes, clear the table tonight. So to get even more specific, you want to say tonight, because if you just say clear the table, you haven't been specific enough. Like, do you want it today? Do you want it tomorrow? Like, do you want them to put a weekly schedule in where they do it a few days a week? Or like, what are you asking for? So clear the table tonight. That's a very direct translation to, it would never occur to you to clean the table, would it? So now if we were to convert clear the table tonight to a soft startup, so right now it might, depending on your tone, it could be a harsh startup. You say clear the table tonight, depending on how you say it. But if we're going to soften this startup of you requesting that to just increase your odds, it would be just please clear the table tonight, or just anything to soften it. So please and your tone are things that you can really use to soften your request and really increase your odds of them complying to the direct thing you're asking for. So let's say we just use the example as it is. So it started off as an indirect attack. So this is an example that we're just going to walk through how it happened. So it would never occur to you to clean the table, would it? And then the husband says, well, do you ever fill the gas tank? And then from there, the argument escalates. So it's very easy to see how, starting with a low blow and attacking, your partner's character and making them feel really bad can just be deflected and have another attack thrown at you. And then, you just like, what are you guys talking about now? Like, you guys are just getting really off mark of what you're trying to get done. Armand, go for it.
And I think something else that's really important is they've been saving the fuel for this argument. How many times has this husband not cleaned the table that this wife is finally fed up with it? How many times has this wife, left the gas tank near empty without filling it up that this husband's like, oh man, like they've been feeling the fire for this argument or whatever they're about to have for a long time. This is not it's not an isolated occurrence.
Yep. Great pickup. So usually we don't act that harshly towards someone if it happens once. This is usually a result of a lot of bottling up. So if you realize that you lash out at someone, it's because you've bottled up your frustrations for a while and you haven't been aware enough, or you've purposely decided it's not going to go positively if you actually talk to your partner about it. So definitely this is a buildup of bottling frustrations that has kind of geared them up for it to go like this. So let's say they didn't have the good skills yet. It doesn't mean they're doomed if they're going to practice attuning. So let's say the wife said, "It would never occur to you to clear the table, would it?" Imagine if the husband could realize that this was a bid for connection. It's covered up really horribly in, like, a lot of attack and indirect attack and things like that. But imagine if he saw the bid that she was asking for because she's really frustrated about something, and say, "All right, like, oh, you're right, sorry," then clear the table. Just imagine if he decided to do that and turn towards his partner and notice the bid instead of turning away or attacking her back. Hand up, go for it.
I think another part of it is, maybe she's feeling alone or like she's not part of a team. Like, oh my gosh, like I have to, clean the table, do the housework by myself. Like it's just so much. Like I just like, you know, just like feels alone. If you take it one step deeper, like she's just feeling alone, overwhelmed. And this is just like saying, hey, like I just want to check in and make sure that, I still have a teammate. But because she's bottling it up, it doesn't come out so great. But yeah, I mean, there's I think a lot going on here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great points. And so it takes, almost, really laser focused, great superhuman skills sometimes to be able to see through an attack and see what is the emotional bid that, they're trying to get. Like, if they're being indirect, they're coming at you with an attack, like, what is it that they really want if they're not saying it? And trying to turn towards them and actually try and relieve them of the thing that they're wanting connection with. So saying, "Oh, you're right, sorry," and clearing the table, that's your words acknowledging it, validating it, and then your actions are matching your words and quickly resolving it. And imagine if you see a wife attack their husband like this, and then you see the husband respond like this. Like, the wife in that situation would, you know, likely be really shocked at, like, his response, and, might even smile and might even realize that she had up that was uncalled for. And he might have scored a lot of emotional points in the bank account because he did that. Maybe she's gonna cut him slack other areas because she knows she attacked him. It wasn't the best thing to do, but, like, he really was there for her and understood what she wanted in that moment, did it, and didn't attack her back. So this really, like, think about relationships and people that are really stuck in a rut where they've gone into a lot of negative loops where one attacks the other person is feeling alone, a lot of frustration bottled up. This would really break that normal cycle of negative um, you know pattern of things not getting anywhere. Imagine if he just broke that habit and responded like this, and then now she is more likely to see his bid when he's asking for something, even if it's not direct. So these are really important things to really try and find the bid of what the person's asking for. If it's coming in an attack, and then in everyday little moments, just turning towards your partner. And in this day and age, we have our phones and we have technology, and we are growing up in an age of distraction, and we don't concentrate for long periods of time. So this is, like, really important. It can be something as simple as your partner says something to you and you just look at your phone, or, like, it's an uncomfortable conversation, you want to avoid it, you kind of go to your phone, or you start playing a game on your phone. That could be modern day version of the classic comic image of the husband always reading the newspaper while the wife is trying to talk to him. So now we're in a world where both people can be easily distracted with technology, and it's going to take a lot more for us to notice it. And it's so important for us to notice these moments. I'll leave you with a story, like a study that's a helpful thing for us to just keep in mind about how important these moments are to be able to appreciate them. So there was a study done, and it was about newborn babies. And if you stick your tongue out at a newborn baby, by the time they figure out how to work their motor skills, they actually can imitate their parent or whoever does that to them and stick their tongue back out. It just takes them 1 to 2 minutes to be able to coordinate all that. Now, imagine, it's very common or very likely that a parent these days, would try and engage with their newborn baby and, like, play with them, stick their tongue out, but then not keep looking at them for the whole 1 or 2 minutes that come after, and completely miss that beautiful moment where your kid can actually imitate you, which is a huge skill to have at such a young age. So there's so many things we can miss out if we just aren't paying attention to it. And a lot of the time it's not intentional. We're not intentionally trying to avoid or ignore our partner or turn away from our partner, but it's just so easy to do with technology these days. So, I love technology. I think technology is great, but we have to learn how to use it to our best advantage. So let's notice these moments as much as we can. And yeah, I'm here if you ever need anything. And yeah, if you ever want one-on-one sessions, you can mint a Love Story Unicorn, and you can have a lifetime supply of sessions. And yeah, but we have these sessions every Thursday. I try and teach skills. Go for it, Mazda.
Yeah, I remember I was reading the Gottman book, and this one piece thing I think is very valuable if you can actually apply it. So I kind of realized if you want to improve at anything, you just got to spend more time and attention focused on that thing. Um, but yeah, for relationships, they said, like, dude, if you just spend like 20 minutes a day or something, and you can create a pattern of that, and you spend that time working on your relationship, what can I do to better myself or better the communications or bids? Can I think of new bids that I can try tomorrow, or what can I help my partner with, or reflecting on the situations you had in your day? Just setting time aside every day to work on that just gives you a cutting edge, dude, because like no one does it. If you just spend like 5 minutes and you're like, dude, what is one good thing I can do to help the relationship? That's like really powerful. And if you can just consistently do that, dude, you're like miles ahead of everyone else. So maybe just try and set like 10 minutes before you go to bed and just brainstorm, what can I do in the future, or what can I reflect and better myself? So yeah, I think that was the random advice that I would maybe give people. I thought that was valuable.
That's an amazing piece of advice. And yes, absolutely. Most people don't do this. Think about it. We spend the classic 9 to 5, like 8 hours a day on our work to perfect and get better at whatever job we do. We don't give our relationship usually anywhere near that time in effort and emotion, but we still want it to run perfectly, and we get really upset when it doesn't. So, absolutely, being intentional about something as important as your relationship, to allocate some time to just reflect, like, what is going wrong? What can I do to make it better? And starting with these bids is a huge step forward. And as I said, like, as soon as you get a couple under your belt and you're intentionally doing it, it really snowballs in the right direction. Especially if you can catch something where someone's attacking you and break that cycle and turn towards them when they're being like that. That's a huge points for you if you can accomplish something like that. So thank you for the great feedback. Mazda, go for it.
Sorry, we don't have a question. So I think just to, I don't know if we're continuing this on next week, but I was thinking,
Mhm.
well, what are some quick, easy bids that people can just chuck into their relationships and like create the pattern of it? Because I think we've got some ideas, but it's a bit hard. Like no one's gonna go like, dude, we need butter, or like, I don't know. It's what are some like really easy to go to that people could just be like, oh, I remember Timmy talked about this one. Like I can use that. Maybe I can like, what should we cook today? I feel like this, or like, what are some really common, easy, basic bids that you commonly try and use just to put some bids out there?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So if you're, for example, eating meals with someone and someone's like, "How is your food?" You know, they want to connect with you. They want to talk to you. So, if you're a silent eater, just realizing that this is something that you want to turn towards your partner instead of giving one. It's very easy to give one word responses, but realizing the bid is actually to talk while eating and trying to accommodate that is something big. Or for example, um, you know if you want your partner to come to bed at the same time as you do and they're on their phone or they're on their email, you might say something attacking like, "You're dealing with your emails now, you had all night." So, finding the bid in that again is really hard. The bid in that is, "Please come to bed now." So, if someone said, "You're dealing with emails now, you had all night," and, if you responded and said, "Oh, good point. I'll be right there." Imagine how much that would just change that dynamic and your partner would really appreciate it. It could be in, other interactions as well. So, for example, it could just be a sound. You could hear your partner grumbling, if as they take the clothes out of the dryer. You can easily pretend that you didn't notice the grumble. For example, someone sighing, someone, just, you know, grumbling or anything like that, any sort of sound that you think, oh, is that a bid or not? And it's likely it is a bid. And so just turning towards them and, asking what the matter is. And, if they explain, for example, "I don't mind doing the laundry, but I hate folding it," and you happen to like mindless tasks like folding shirts, that's an amazing way to be able to turn towards your partner. And if you, for example, like jazz music, you turn jazz music on, you do the folding, your partner's so happy, really appreciates it. And then maybe remembers, like, "Oh, we haven't gone to that jazz club, that local jazz club near our house. We should go for dinner tonight." And then it can, like, just even, um, you know, turn positive that quickly sometimes. And again, that was a real life example I just shared just then with the laundry. That wasn't made up. So they're all around us. So even as simple as noticing someone's sigh could be a bid to be able to see how they're feeling. Does that help at all?
Yeah. So I think looking into what you said, yeah, you just need to be more reflective about things, like maybe express some thoughts in your head and like reflect on how other people are feeling. Are they sad? Ask them why they're feeling sad. Um, you got to know the other person. It stems from that. Then you can kind of reflect and help them through it, or know where to point the bids in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. Or like, even over text, like, you haven't heard from someone that you care about in a while. And, you can turn towards them if there's someone that's treated you well and, you have a good connection and just be like, "Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I was thinking of you. I wanted to know how you're going." That would be a bid towards. So that could be stonewalling for whatever reason if, it's someone close to you in your life. But that's a way to reach out and see what's going on. Yeah, yeah. Great questions. Great questions. And this is just a skill that we've, for the first time talked about in this space. This is just like all the other skills. We're not going to pick it up instantly. We're going to practice it in future week scenarios and really put it to practice. So just like how soft startups come up, love languages come up, bottling is bad comes up, these things all come up in situations. So we're just learning. Don't expect to pick this up in 2 seconds and apply it in the next week. It's great if you do, but it really does take practice. So, we're learning these skills now. We've heard of these skills, and it's just going to get easier from here. This was the hardest step, learning that something like this exists, not getting overwhelmed enough to not want to tackle it, and just, moving forward with our learning and our growth, and putting these to practice. So we're all on the right track here. You guys are doing great. You're on your path to becoming relationship experts. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming, and wish you guys an amazing rest of the week with your love lives. All right, see ya. And I'm here if you need anything. Have a great week.
Bye, guys. All the best. Have a great week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.